ESL has shut down the Impact League, basically the women's only league, pretty much, right? And how they cleverly put it, it was ESL to suspend Impact Circuit. Like, let's see the news. The news came out today on the hltv.org, and the statement was pretty much like this. The way it was written down on HLTV is also funny. Is that now they have made the incredibly difficult decision to suspend the ESL Impact Circuit at the end of season 8, citing that the fact that the current economic model is simply not sustainable as a reason. Basically, in translation, for whoever doesn't understand, is like nobody is watching, and we don't want to waste any more money on this. And basically, that's the translation they're trying to, but they're putting it as not sustainable. The company that was sold for 1.5 billion dollars. 3 years later, he finds that ESL Impact League that costs very little in comparison to other things, which I'm gonna come to a little bit later, is not sustainable. Doesn't have the current economical model that's sustainable for continuing the league. Now let's get back into 2022. Why am I saying this and why am I making a video about this? Because it disgusts me, the way it was handled all 3 years and everything around it. And for me, this whole ESL impacting was never about the women's league, was never about like providing a chance to the female players to prove themselves and play on the biggest event. It was all about the PR. If we go back in 2022, let's see if we can find that. I think we can. Just give me a second. In 2022, we have the announcement that ESL Gaming and Faceit merge, companies bought by Saudi-backed group for $1.5 billion. Now, we all know what the Saudi and the female human rights and like all these things, they don't have the good track record about that. So immediately after they merged and they got all the heat and about the Saudi money and all these things, they decided to all of a sudden, after all these years, make a female-only ESL Impact League, right? All of a sudden. How surprising that the timing was exactly after the merge with the Saudis, right? For me, that's just a PR stunt to take the heat, to see like, oh, gee, we are including women into this Counter-Strike circuit, and we're gonna be funding their seasons for a long time. And in the fact, at the very beginning, they immediately knew that they have the end date on this. This is not going to be sustainable. This is not going to be profitable for anyone, and they're going to be shutting it down. They just to pay the good PR for this money, and that's it. They don't care about the female league. They don't care about the female players. They just care about the PR and how to save money. 3 years later, 8 seasons later, they decided to shut it down. They shut it down by saying they have no more money. For me, that's simply not a believable reason, or actually it is a believable reason in a sense that this league is providing zero revenue. The quality of CS is very low. The fact to prove that is not me just trying to degrade female CS or any kind of bashing on the female teams or the organization that support the females or anything like that. It's just a fact. So let's take an example of Imperial Valkyries. Valkyries, the most successful female team that played over the course of 1 year, 1.5 years, a little bit more, maybe less. Total of 29 matches against the male teams. They won 0 matches. They won 1 map against a team that probably match fixed. Doesn't prove, but like the way I looked at that game, and it was suspicious in all kind of ways. They won the first map. That was the only map they won in the history of their competition against the male teams. And I'll explain the reason why I'm saying all this is that against that team Leo, and immediately after that they lost 13-2, and then the other 2 maps. So both of them were 13-2, 13-2. Across the span of 2025, where they were the most dominant female team, they played, like I said, 29 games against the male teams. The closest one they got was on LAN against Furia, where they had a substitute, and Bubble, their coach, played with them. And they lost the first map in overtime. They lost the second map fairly easy. Ever since then, they lost every map they played against the male team. not just relatively easy, but convincingly easy. Multiple times they were 13-0. The point that I'm trying to make is the fact that like simply they couldn't keep up with the male CS, and they couldn't provide quality CS, which nobody would watch. And nobody would watch that, which means if nobody's watching, nobody's willing to pay for that. No sponsors are willing to give up any money for that. That's why the revenue, and it's not sustainable. And it's just the league ran its course because like it was planned in 2022, and all of that I blame on ESL and organizations like them, like Blast and everybody else. If you really wanted to help the female CS, if you really wanted to make it last, and if you really wanted to do something that's meaningful for the female scene and have them included in the open circuit or any kind of circle, any kind of competition, you wouldn't shut it down. You wouldn't organize it like this. You would probably take some money that you absolutely have and dedicate those money to a smaller cups, 5, 10K, 3K, 5K, 10K there for the prize money. It doesn't have to be LAN. It can be online. You can help the orgs by financing them. Like half of the contracts they're paying to these girls that are playing CS, you can finance that and try to find a way around that so you can help those organizations support their players. Because the organization simply cannot, unless they have a backing from some, somebody who is ready to throw money away, they can simply not afford a female team, even if the average salary is like 2K per player, which is 10K to have the team plus the coach plus another team. That's maybe between 15 and 20,000 if per month, which gives you what, 250 a year. If a team like Falcons, for example, and other teams that are backed by Saudi money can spend millions on transfers, if ESL and Face It and Blast and other teams can pay the day rates of talent more than 2.5K up to 3K and spend all this money on all this equipment and studios and all this, surely there is money to be spent for something like this. It doesn't have to be 200K, prize money. Just keep it sustainable. Invest some money into these like smaller cups, make a series of smaller cups, but when the money comes in and and then you try to organize a little bit of a LAN that maybe the orgs can pay for the trip themselves, like there are ways to do these things without shutting it down. But what disgusts me more is the fact that all these people on Twitter right now today are virtue signaling with their tweets. Oh, this is so sad. We have to do something like really, really fast as soon as possible. This is bad for CS. This is not even good or bad. That has nothing to do with CS. Female CS is going to be played regardless of female league or not. Any of these players, any of these like people in the community could have helped in their own way. The big ass streamers, somebody with viewers, somebody with a platform could have streamed or co-streamed their events or the Esl Impact finals. Nobody, not a single person asked for it. But they are first one in the line to tweet how this is bad and how, you remember the jail tweet at the first January when he was like, when they played against Valkyries and they lost 13-7, 13-6. I mean, they beat them 13-7, 13-6. Like, yeah, you should pay attention. You shouldn't like, shut the fuck up. Those are the same people like now are saying like, this is so sad. None of these people helped or offered to help in any way. None of these streamers, they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to co-stream. They didn't want to offer any help to make it sustainable for anybody who is paying the money. I understand ESL withdrawing because there is no money, but the base of this ESL Impact League was done all wrong. It was done with a reason not to help the female creds. It was done with a reason to improve their PR. And that's clear as a fucking day. So don't come here and sell me this story how it's not sustainable. This economic model is not sustainable, and we made a difficult. It wasn't a difficult decision. It was a decision that you made in 2022 when you were looking away. When you're looking for a way to improve your PR after you merged with Saudis, and now you decided to kind of 3 years later, say 8 seasons later, shut it down. Meanwhile, you are letting people go. You are paying in a tremendous amount in different areas, trying to make it look nice from the outside when the inside is just rotten. And now these girls that are playing CS that were hoping, and I understand them, like they are on Twitter everywhere trying to like, say this sucks, and it does suck for them. But the only person and the only people who are to blame are the people who even invented the CSL Impact League. And I'm reading the comments like, we want to thank, like, this was a tremendous effort. We feel grateful. Like they used you. They used you for better PR, and now they don't need it anymore, and they're just gonna let you go. And this is what these people do. If there was anybody who was fighting the cause for a female CS to be played, or trying to, he would go, anybody from ESL Blast or anybody would go to Valve and say, listen, let's try to organize something together. Let's try to find it. It's not that there is a lack of money. There is a lack of motivation. There is a lack of business opportunity, lack of profit. And don't try to sell me anything other than that. So for me, this is, to say the least, disgusting, and it just made me kind of make this video. So think of it what you will, and see you later.